another episode of your program, Goals for Change. My name remains Osiyoye Oluwaseun. On this episode, we'll be discussing with Dr. Gana Adam, the Director of Outdoor Advertisement and Signage, FCT. We will be right back. Welcome back. Dr. Gana Adam is a civil servant who rose through the rank in the service, where he worked with Abuja Environmental Protection Board, Parks and Recreation Department of the FCT, and the Department of Economic Planning, Research and Statistics, where he was the head of the monitoring division, and currently is the Director, Department of Outdoor Advertisement and Signage. We will be right back.
DOAS, the Department of Outdoor Advertisement and Signage, is a department set up in 2012 to control, standardize, and regulate the illegal proliferation of signages in the FCT, Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. It was done in that direction because it was becoming an all-commerce affair. There was no standardization, regulation, or control. Everybody comes into Abuja, puts his signages, billboards, and whatever that is outdoor advertisement, where he likes, how he likes, whenever he feels like. So there was no standard procedure being followed, even though as of that time it was under the Aesthetics and Amenities Division of the Development Control Department. So that necessitated the establishment of the department in agreement with the 6th Area Council of the FCT to control the illegal proliferation of signages that is defacing the aesthetic beauty of the environment, as well as also creating hazards, safety hazards to residents or to motorists and to even pedestrians within the city. So that was the main purpose for which it was set up in 2012. You know, I even have the SDG booklet, especially under SDG 11, that has to do with urbanization. You know, the city development in FCT. And you know, for your information, there is this Urban Thinkers Campus in FCT that is being done annually. You know, last year, 2019, it was done around July. And the Honorable Minister has always honored that. And in fact, FCT has been participating in the last one that held at Abu Dhabi, you know, the Urban Thinkers Campus that held at Abu Dhabi. So we are always in consonance with maintaining the habitat through felling of trees. We don't encourage people that put up billboards, especially the bigger ones, on the street capes, because we don't want it to affect the habitat of birds and other animals that may even affect the balance in the environment. So as a department, whatever we are doing with the billboards and outdoor advertisement and signage, we take consideration of how the environment is hampered, how the environment is augmented, so that at the end of the day, it doesn't cause any unbalance. That's why we follow all the procedure for environmental impact assessment that is done. Soil test is carried out for whatever that we are going to put in the environment to be compatible, acceptable to global best practice in compliance with the SDGs 1 to 17. There is a replacement policy within the FCT that for every tree fell, you have to plant 3. within the FCT policy. So we ensure that if you must, and there is no way you can move it away, then you can file it through normal procedure with the Abuja Environmental Protection Board and the Parks and Recreation Department and the Forestry within Agric. Then you now replant 3 in that place that you failed 1. So there is that policy within the FCT with the Development Control Hand Manual of the city of FCT. There's a penalty. We don't even give you that approval to fail it. And if you fail it, we can even stop you from doing what you intend to do. And we mitigate whatever damage that has been done. In fact, when they go to do anything, when we go to set out, a staff accompanies them to see where they are going to put it. So it's not like they will come and tell us they have done it when they have not done it. But our staff in the enforcement and evaluation department follows them to site to ensure that where they are going to plant, there is any environmental degradation that will set in as a result of what they want to carry out. The environment is bigger than everybody because it's a heritage that we have to bequeath to the next generation, and it has to be preserved accordingly. Well, you know, in the FCT, we have the SDGs, is a department or unit or section under the Economic Planning, Research and Statistics. So for whatever we are doing, and this Urban Thinkers campus that we are talking about, and then the World Habitat, UN Habitat within the FCT, and then the UNDP, you see, as FCT, we have collaboration where we have been debriefed on the SDGs and the roles that we can partner to see that at least this multilateral goals setup is achieved fully without distorting the environment. So we are collaborating through the Department of Economic Planning, Research and Statistics with the SDGs, Office of the Senior Special Assistant on the SDGs now, and then the FCT SDGs, as well as other international organizations that will help us, like the Urban Thinkers Campus, through the UN Habitat, yes. No, it's a continuous one. It's not one-off. It's a continuous process from the beginning to end. There are even stages where we have planning. You know, there is this United Nations Development Framework, UNDAF, you know, and under it, every SDA, Secretariat, Department and Agencies of the Federal Capital Territory Administration is brought together. So a work plan, annual work plan is developed. And when the annual work plan is developed, there is a capacity aspect, there is some implementation aspect that has to do with the SDGs that is factored into the framework. So at the end of every year, it is reviewed, analyzed, and then learning processes observed, and also mitigation plans are put in place for it to be implemented. So it's like a continuous process, but between the coordinating department, which is the Economic Planning, Research and Statistics, and then the other UN systems in country under the UNDAF. Initially, it used to be FAO that was regulating it in collaboration with UNDP and others. So, and then the Urban Thinkers Campus that I was telling you that UN Habitat is coordinated. So we are all part and parcel of it as FCT family. So it's a continuous thing, it's not one-off. Well, the SDG, the way it is planned, is better than the MDGs because initially there were funds kept specific for MDGs to operate. But now the whole process of the SDGs has incorporated the budgeting system to be part of whatever you are going to do, either as ERGP of the budgeting system of the government, federal, state, and whichever level of government is. So if it is sustained, And the UN system in country continues to call the attention through advocacy to the governments, like the FCT administration, like state governments and the federal. And budgetary provisions are made to the programs and projects that will help the SDGs achieve before 2030, then it is achievable. You never achieve 100%, but it's achievable if there is advocacy from the multilateral UN systems for the budget process that is envisaged in this SDG system. But if there is no advocacy, and unfortunately with the pandemic, we don't know how long it will go on. If it doesn't go on indefinitely, maybe it ceases within the next 1-2 years, I think action plan can be redesigned to cater for the time lost due to the pandemic. But if certain things are not brought in to mitigate the problems already created because of the pandemic, then we will begin to say, though it's too early for us to project, because I think the entire pandemic is serious to the extent that it is only about 3-4 months now. So we hope, like it's been envisaged, before the next 1 year, maybe a vaccine will be found, and then maybe the thing will be curtailed. So the 2030 deadline, I think we can make tremendous progress up to, if you take a scale of 1 to 10, I would say by 8, I'm confident that we will achieve great results. No, the key thing is I think the issue of good governance. The issue of good governance is very important, because when you speak about SDGs, the goals 1 to 17 are very broad, and it's life itself. Everything about life is in the SDGs 1 to 17. So without good governance, you cannot achieve anything. And you need government as a vehicle to achieve the SDGs. So good governance should be the keywords. Good governance, and good governance. Good governance in the sense budgetary processes, budgetary releases, you understand, revenue generation, you understand, where security is taken care of. So at the end of the day, if all these are factored in, then we will achieve all that we have put to achieve with good governance. My only advice is that I think to inculcate the spirit of SDGs, I think you are already in schools, primary schools, secondary schools, and maybe even tertiary. But if you are well grounded at the primary and secondary school level, people will grow up with the mind of SDGs and the goals of the SDGs and the reasons for which it is done. Globally, I don't know how to pronounce her name, that young lady that is a campaigner for the environment is an excellent start, because the future belongs to the young people. So if the young people are grounded in the SDGs, and there are quizzes, there are competitions, there are essays, not elitists, it has to be grassroots. You know, where the most damages are done is not in the urban setup. It is in the rural neglected sectors that erosions and all the problems start, crimes start, banditry or terrorism or whatever starts. So if SDG is to succeed, or any global agenda for it to succeed, I think it should be inculcated at the primary school level, at the secondary school level. I recall some lessons of hygiene taught to me in my primary one on cholera, even hand washing and other things. Primary school era. I'm talking about early 70s when I was in primary one. Till date, it echoes in my brain about the importance of hygiene and sanitation. So that is the effect of a child's brain. They say when you educate a child, it's like you have engraved on a rock, which remains forever. So for me, the primary and secondary school should be a target focus for SDGs to be inculcated in them on this SDG 1 to 17. So that will be a winning process. And then champion good governance. good governance and good governance, because 50% of our problems globally is the lack of good governance, especially in Africa. Once we have good governance, I think everything will follow. That's my advice.
We've been speaking with Dr. Gana Adam, the current director of Department of Outdoor Advertisement and Signage, FCTA. You've heard it all from him that to achieve the SDGs, two things are key. One, good governance. Two, inculcating the spirit of the SDGs in the younger generation. I mean the primary and secondary levels of education, and if possible, the tertiary institution. Thank you.